right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So give me 1 second and make sure that he's unmuted. We're on different devices. Yes.
Unmute button. Press audio now unmuted. The host is not allowing participants.
Speak, Wayne.
Okay. I'm Wayne
Here we have you
Simpson.
guys.
My wife, Jaimie. And I'm with Beat Baseball. Beat Baseball is an adaptation of softball, basically. Back in 1975, a group of folks from Minneapolis and Phoenix got a group together in Chicago, and they took a set of rules for baseball and they switched them into rules that can be used by the blind. We have a 1 pound ball that has an electronic beeper inside of it. Excuse me, my throat's all scratchy today. But and our bases are 4 foot tall bolsters with buzzers in them. The pitcher, they're obviously they're not going to try to strike you out because it'd be pretty easy to strike out a blind guy. But they're standing 20 feet from you and they're trying to make you hit the ball. So they have to give a cadence when they're delivering it. So your batter knows when the ball is being delivered and the fielders know when that's going to take place. Now, you don't know which base is going to come on. We only have a first and a third base. So when you hit the ball, you don't know which way you're going to go yet till you hear the buzzer come on. And our bases are 100 feet out and 10 feet in foul territory. So they keep from collisions. Now, beat ball started, this group of folks got together in 1975. And the first World Series, I believe, was in Lawrence, Kansas in 1976. And it was won by the St. Paul Gorillas. And we've been around. This is the first year we haven't had it, the World Series, because of this lovely virus. Now, the game has changed a lot since we started back in 76. We used to have only 5 players on the defense, and the bases were 90 feet. And that changed. Can't remember what year that changed. I want to say 86, 87, 87, I believe, where we added an extra player. And then a couple of years later, we moved the bases back 10 feet and into foul territory. Now, on your defense, you can have 6 players. You can have up to 2 coaches out there with you to help you out. They set up the defense, and each player has their own zone. We have like 10 zones. Each of your coaches have like 5 zones. We call them spotters. They can call one zone number one time. That's all the assistance you get for getting the ball. If you pick up the ball off the ground and away from your body before the base runner hits the base, you make an out, because you don't want blind folks throwing a 1 pound ball across trying to hit the batter. But
If the batter makes it to the base before the fielder picks up the ball, then it's a run. And all 6 players that go on the field all wear a blindfold. That's to make the sport, make everybody on an even playing field. The sport is made up of blind and visually impaired players. And of course, like Wayne mentioned, that we have lots of volunteers that help with this sport for things like scorekeeping. And then obviously part of the game staff include your pitcher and catcher who are sighted, your 2 spotters that are in the field that are sighted, coaches, base judges, umpires. The sport is played throughout the United States, and actually it's gone international. Wayne and I play with the Austin Blackhawks in Austin, Texas, and that team has traveled a few different times to a few different countries to help Beat Baseball get known, and have started some teams in like Taiwan, and they visited Canada at one point, and a few years later a team did result there. They have teams in the Dominican Republic. We visited Argentina recently to hopefully give enough information and spark enough interest that hopefully they'll start a team. Beat Baseball is made up of men and women, players and volunteers. We have players that range in age from very young, like teenagers, to old, like Wayne. No, I was just kidding. but older. Older. We have some folks who have been around, just starting, to folks who have been around for many years, like 30 years. We have a national league, the National Beat Baseball Association. They have actually a website, nbba.org, where you can go and find lots of really good information, including like rules and startup information, things that you might need for first time teams starting up. Every year we host the World Series in a different city. This year, unfortunately, like Wayne mentioned, the World Series was canceled due to the pandemic. But next year we will be in Kansas. Wichita, Kansas. And every year at that World Series, we have anywhere between like 20 and 24, 5 teams that get together for the World Series tournament. Beat Baseball is very competitive. And we do have teams throughout the United States. I'm not going to say that we have one. Well, maybe we have one in every state. Maybe not. No. But they're out there. And it's likely that even if you don't have a team in your state, if you're interested in playing or interested in starting a team, there's somebody that you can reach out to. In fact, with the National Beat Baseball Association, we have an outreach committee that I actually chair. And so, if there's any interest or just questions that you want to ask, you can reach out to me and we can certainly talk Beat Baseball. One of the things that has evolved in Beat Baseball more recently is the Women of Our League. And in that, what we've done is have a game at the World Series for the last 3 or 4 years. 3 years. That's made up of all women. So all women players, all women staff, all women volunteers, from scorekeepers to umpires and that sort of thing. And we're doing that for a few different reasons. And I think for me, it's important to, help women understand that they too can play sports and can play Beat Baseball, and that, there's certainly a place for women in Beat Baseball. And, it just helps bring about competition and camaraderie and that sort of thing. What else do you want to add?
We have, I'm also on the National Beat Baseball Association. I'm the equipment chairman for the balls and bases and making sure that stuff gets taken care of.
So you can answer any questions about how to get equipment if you're interested in starting up a team.
This year, because of the epidemic, our balls are made by the telephone pioneers out of Denver, Colorado, and they're shut down. So until, well, I think September.
Hold on, we got a question. Is Austin the only team in Texas? No, we actually have, let's see,
San Antonio, Houston, Tyler, Dallas, and we had a team in
there's two
College
teams in
Station.
Dallas. There's two teams in the Dallas area, Lone Star and the Lone Star Roadrunners and the Aztec Warriors, Tyler Tigers, Austin, Texas, San Antonio Jets, Houston Bayou City Heat, and I think that's all of them in Texas right now.
College Station had a team, but we're not sure if they're going to stick together.
But they are known as the Outlaws, BCS Outlaws. So Texas, I think, is probably one of the states that has more teams, but we do have teams, you know, all over the country. And I talked about the National Beat Baseball Association as an organization and how we come together as a World Series. Oftentimes we get asked, is that the only time that, you know, tournaments are held? And the answer is no. There are other tournaments that are held around the country that are put together by different teams. Like recently there was a tournament in Indiana that was hosted by the Indy Thunder, who are actually currently the reigning champs of beat baseball. And that was just recently, and I believe they're hosting another tournament coming up in September. And just kind of throughout the year, and when I say throughout the year, kind of throughout the spring summer season, you'll see some tournaments out there, and many of those tournaments you can find information on the National Beat Baseball Association website. It'll provide you with dates and contact information of who you can contact if you're interested in, you know, something like that. But they're fun. They're generally smaller size tournaments from the World Series. They run tournaments anywhere from 4 teams to 8 teams in a tournament. And, you know, beat baseball definitely to get started requires a lot of fundraising and, you know, finding volunteers and stuff like that. But the hard work of putting all that together really pays off because it's a sport that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we started the Blackhawks back in '86, and we did do a whole lot of selling candy bars and washing cars and just anything to raise enough money to buy the balls, because now they're $35 a piece for the balls. And our first World Series was in Ithaca, New York in 1987. And so we've been to every World Series since then.
You're old. Just kidding. One of the new things that has also come about with Beat Baseball is we are working hard to try to move forward with the youth league. And what we're looking at there is to have, youth kids play beat baseball as well and not have to wait to play this organized sport until they're an adult. And so we've been working to move this piece along for the last couple of years. So it's still new and we're still working on it. At last year's World Series, they did have a youth event where we were able to bring some kids out there and show them a little bit about beat baseball and, you know, kind of promote the sport and even just really give them their first experience at what it would be like to play an organized sport. So if you are, you know, younger than 14 and you're looking at playing beat baseball, or you have a kiddo that you want to maybe bring them out and have them try a sport. Again, there are probably people on here from all over the country, maybe even beyond. You can certainly reach out to myself and I can help you get in contact with whoever you might need to move forward with that process. So we're trying to really spread beat baseball far and wide. It's a lot of fun. It's very competitive.
Back in, I guess 86, 87, me and this guy, Kevin, we were doing a fundraiser with blindness, prevention of blindness. And this lady came up and she was watching this video we were running, and she came up and she you could tell she was not from the United States, and because of her accent. And she says, wow, I know some friends in my country who would really love to play this game. And so we found out she was a student at the University of Texas, and we got her the rules, and she translated them into Mandarin. And she sent all the information over there, and then we sent balls and bases so they can start playing.
And then Taiwan started a team.
And then they started beating us.
Austin got to go over there at the time as the champs of Beat Baseball to teach them how to play. And then Taiwan proceeded to beat us. But it's a fun sport. We say all that in fun. It's very competitive when you're on the field. But Beat Baseball is also like being a part of a big family. There's actually lots of families who, are kind of responsible for starting teams in their respective areas. So definitely a big family.
5 minutes, guys.
Can we? Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Wayne, or maybe we can take some questions?
And just to kind of give them a little background, because they're being a little modest, they're actually, Wayne and his brother is the one who started the Blackhawks. And although the Thunder are the reigning champs for the last 4 years, Austin has the most championships with 9. So,
and 7 of them are in a row.
Yeah, 7 are in a row, and 2 came later. And I think Wayne and Kevin started the team when they were both like super young, and their mother is also pretty responsible for helping get this team off the ground. She's been pretty much the rock of fundraising for at least the last 26 years. So this team has definitely benefited from the Simpson family getting this off the ground and making sure that we have lots of sponsors and things like that allows us to not just participate in this sport, as a team, but being able to send members of the team to different countries to help get Beat Baseball started. And not just to other countries. We've sent, so Wayne's brother Kevin from the San Antonio, who pitches for the San Antonio Jets now, used to be the pitcher for the Austin Blackhawks for many years, and he and Wayne actually traveled around the country quite a bit to help other teams in the United States get off the ground as well. So it's been a fun ride to be a part of that for 21 years now, but Wayne and Kevin for much longer with Beat Baseball.
So yeah, thank you guys with all your help. We are going to open up the floor to any questions, if anybody have any for Wayne and Jaimie.
Christy has a question. Go ahead, Christy, star 6.
Yes, I'm from Canada, and I would like to attend Beat Baseball. Can you tell me where there's a league in Canada? Thanks for taking my question.
Sure. So Canada, I don't know if I can tell you exactly where the team is located, but they do have one. However, I'm happy to.
It's
I
Toronto,
think everybody's
isn't
gonna.
it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
that's
Toronto.
Toronto.
The Toronto Blind Jays is what they're called.
Yes.
And I can certainly help you find some more information about them if you want to reach out to me via email. And I think you're going to send out email to them, right, Greg? Or they're going to get a follow-up email? Okay.
Yes.
So find my contact info in there. It's Jaimie Simpson from Austin, Texas, and I will be happy to try to get you in touch with the folks from Canada.
And you have another question from Stephen Kerr.
Hello, Kerr.
Make it
You
an
don't
easy
hear-
one. Just kidding.
There you
Can
are,
you hear me?
Stephen. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, so Jaimie, I'm just curious. I know you and Wayne play for the same team, but I'm just wondering that sometimes at practice, if you're at the plate and he's out in the field, and if so, how many times have you had the privilege of putting him out?
Wayne, at the current time, Wayne doesn't play much anymore. He we often tease that he holds down one end of the bench and someone else holds down the other end. But honest to goodness, when I first started playing ball, it was a lot of fun, and we'd have little competitions as to how many times each of us could get each other out in the field, and I definitely won. I've put him out more times than he's put me out. He
what I
might
thought.
he might can hit the ball further, but I can run faster.
There
I
you
was about to
go.
say, I don't know his offensive prowess, but she's a hellified defensive player. So
No,
I mean,
Thank you, Greg.
in all seriousness, Wayne, you and I started playing at about the same time back when, in the 70s, when you maybe remember at one time that the World Series, you actually had to qualify in order to get to the World Series.
Well, back originally,
Oh, wow.
it was by invitation only, and
Right.
they would only invite 8 teams. And always it seemed like Houston and the Fort Worth Roadrunners got to go from Texas.
That's because I played for Houston.
Ah.
No, there was a time, but then eventually the NBBA decided that they wanted to open it up to more teams and have more opportunities, which I think is, so that's good to see. But great presentation, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Other questions? You're welcome.
Hey there, this is Ron Graham. I just want to ask you, okay, aside from the beeping ball and the bases beep also?
They buzz. They have
buzz.
a constant buzz.
Okay. So, and also home plate or?
Home plate. It's just a regular home plate.
Okay.
And then we use bats that are a bit heavier. So I think most of the guys like to use, I think it's the 38-ounce bat. I personally prefer to use a lighter bat. However, that's kind of the most common bat, the 38-ounce. And the plate itself, it's tactile. It's a tactile plate like any other home plate. So what you do when you're learning is between the pitcher and catcher, they teach you how to use your foot, your bat. It's different for each player. Sometimes some players reach down there and find the corner, and then you orient yourself to line up that way. And then also sometimes the pitcher, the catcher might offer a little bit of verbal instruction if you need to just turn slightly.
Okay. So
one thing I did forget is you get 4 strikes and 1 ball.
Yeah, we did forget that. So that's a little bit different. 4 strikes, 1 ball.
Geez, how y'all forget the major rule?
What's that?
4 strikes and 1 ball.
4
How do you
strikes
forget
and 1
the
ball. I know, right?
Well,
all right. We got any other questions?
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Tam.
I used to, in gym class, play or attempt to play baseball growing up. And it essentially being low vision, it was regular baseball, unadapted. I would just swing as hard as I could, and if I made contact, great, and if not, I was gonna strike out. How do you coordinate actually learning to hit the ball with your pitcher? Because my understanding is the pitcher is on your team, right?
Yes.
He's
the
trying to
pitcher's
make
on
you
your
hit the
team.
ball.
And the cadence, so he has a cadence, and basically they say some form of set, ready, ball, and the pitcher will work with you. So it's basically like the pitcher says set, ready, ball, and then swing, like you do that in your head, set, ready, ball, and then you swing the bat. And sometimes it depends on your pitcher, like how much you wait on them or how quick they are. And all of that's going to be determined by, just constant practice and listening to their cadence and kind of putting it all together. But it's essentially set, ready, ball, and swing.
At the end of the day, it's all about timing. If you ain't got that timing, you ain't got nothing. So
timing and
the batter and the
consistency.
pitcher.
Timing and consistency.
Greg, I do have a statement or comment.
yes.
Oh, no.
That's okay. Okay, so I don't have a question, but I do wanted to just make a comment about beat baseball. I'm one. I hate baseball. Hated it. It's just boring. It was a very boring sport, and it's what I thought. So when I went to my first beat ball game, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be ridiculous. And so I was literally on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I'm totally blind. But listening to those balls and the hits and the runs, I mean, it's very exciting, and which was opposite of regular baseball for me. And
Yeah.
the fact that, you know, you can't see, but you're just waiting for this. And then as soon as it's like out, and you're like, oh my God, you know, it's just very intense. So those that, you know, think that baseball is boring, beat ball is not at all. So
it's such a fun sport on all ends, whether you're in the game or you're watching the game. It's so much fun, and it's so addicting. Like, you just can't get away from it.
It's so much so that I watch the feeds when they're at the tournament.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like, what am I doing?
They do.
And you bring up a good point. So for anybody, for all of you out there listening, when there are tournaments, many of the games are streamed live through Facebook. Beat Ball Nation is one of the Facebook pages that you can join up on and find a lot of the live feeds when the tournaments are going on, and it's just so much fun. Even from afar, listening through a live feed, it's fun. So thank you, Greg, and for having us be a part of this, and we certainly hope to see some interest for Beat Baseball, and Wayne and I are happy to answer any questions that y'all send through us through email. We can get in contact with you and help you get started, or just answer questions that you may have.
Great job, guys, and thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so next we're going to have which is one that I've heard about but never tried myself, and as you guys heard before, I also play for the Austin Blackhawks, just FYI, and so does one of our presenters with hockey. So we got a Blackhawks representation here. So let me answer that question really quick before I go on. So in regular baseball, you have 3 strikes and 4 balls. Yes. So there's 3 strikes and 4 balls, but because there is an adaptation to it, we only have, because in regular baseball, if you get 4 balls, you walk to the base. But in beat baseball, you run the one base, you don't run the both. And so the timing of everything is that you can only take 1 pass, because the pitcher is on your team and his job is to pitch so you can hit. So because we have 1 ball, we have 4 strikes. And if I'm not mistaken, we actually dropped that down because it used to be 5 strikes and 2 balls. So it has dropped since then, but to make it competitive and make it move faster, it is 4 strikes and 1 ball. But again, if you guys have any other questions at the end, you can send emails to Jaimie and Wayne, which will have the information there, and you'll be able to ask those questions, and they'll be able to get more information. And again, on mbba.org, you can look that website up. It has all the rules and regulations, the tournaments. It has a list of all the teams in alphabetical order that you can go and look at. So sorry about that. So next we're going to have Albert Wong, who's going to speak about Dragonboat. So Albert, do we have you available?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Okay.
Well, I'm not usually a public speaker, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm not quite as entertaining as some other people. But I've been dealing with Dragonboat racing for, at least almost 20 years. And it's primarily a water sport. It's a competitive team water sport. Most of the events occur around the world. And these are competitive teams that are comprised of mixed teams, male teams, and women's teams. And for the most part, they're all around the world. It's an Asian sport. It started about 2,000 years ago, but lately it's really been very competitive. More specifically, the blind team that's from the Houston area is from the Lighthouse of Houston. It's called Blind Fury, and it's comprised of men and women. What we usually do is we prepare the paddlers. It's a team sport. So you get either 20 people or 10 people on a boat. These are people that are sitting in pairs, and everyone has to wear a life jacket because you're racing against other teams, and there's waves and wakes, and there's a potential for falling into the water. Everybody paddles together in pairs. So the boat is usually either a 20 person boat or a 10 person boat. And you have a drummer in the front and you have a steersman in the back. And the steersman has to be able-bodied and also able to see, because he's got to be able to control the direction of the boat. The races are usually 200 meters, 500 meters, or 1,000 meters. And because you have people sitting in the boat, it's about a 45-foot long boat for 20 people paddling in pairs, 10 rows. You have people in the front who are called the pacers. Those are the first 3 rows. The middle 4 rows are called the engine room. These are the bigger people. The boat is similar to a canoe, where it's narrow in the front, it's widest in the middle, and it's narrow at the end. Usually because these are in festivals, you have a dragon head on the boat in the front. You've got a drummer sitting at the front of the boat. You've got a steersperson in the back of the boat, and you've got a tail. So these races are usually held in open waters, and you're racing in particular rows where each area is marked specifically where you have to stay in that particular row as you paddle down that particular race course. And so it's a very highly competitive sport, but at the same time, it requires complete unison. We always say you're as strong as your weakest paddler. So if a person, and you're sitting fairly close to one another, and so from that standpoint, you're taking a canoe paddle, and you're essentially about 4 feet. Each row is about 4 feet in front of the next row. And so you've all lined everybody up. You've got the skinnier, smaller people in the front. You've got the larger people. And you can have some pretty large people in the middle. And then you have some narrow people in the back. Because it is so competitive, you've got to be able to balance the boat. So you've got from one side to the other, because otherwise, if you have your heavy people on the left side of the boat, it's going to tip over. So the person who's a coach and the steersman has to go ahead and adjust people as they start going into the boat. What we usually do is we get everybody's weight and set up a seating chart so that everybody is balanced, so that we at least have the boat balanced weight-wise on the left side and the right side, and then reasonably well in the front and in the back. But most of your heavy people are in the middle. And what's happening is, in order to practice, because this is only a relatively new sport for the visually impaired and blind people, you've got to have access to a swimming pool or water in order to practice. And so the Lighthouse of Houston has an indoor swimming pool. And prior to the start of the racing season, I work with the staff there to invite all the clients to come in, and we line people up along the edge of the pool. They have paddles, and we set people along the edge of the pool, almost just one in front of the other, barely. We have their inside leg dangling inside the pool. We have the outside leg sitting on top of the edge of the pool, and your seat bottom is just right on the edge of the pool. So if the water is on your right side, for instance, you're holding the paddle with your right hand, your bottom right hand closest to the top of the paddle. So this is similar to a canoe paddle. The top hand, or your inside hand, is on top of the handle. It's not underneath the handle, similar to a canoe paddle, but you have it on top of the handle in order to be able to drive that paddle down into the water. So what you want to do is, you're sitting there, you reach forward, you lean forward, and you drop that paddle in the water, and then you pull back toward your hip along the edge of the pool, which simulates the edge of the boat. Because you're sitting inside the boat above the water, you have to be able to reach down and stab the water, so to speak, and pull back with your hand, your outside hand, just right above the blade, pulling completely, having the blade buried in the water as you pull back. So as you can imagine, what's happening is the boat is sitting still as you're leaning forward, and you take the water and you stab down into the water and you pull back, you're pulling that boat forward. So with each stroke, as you reset and go back forward again above the water, and then you stab the paddle down into the water and pull back, you've got to be able to do that in unison. So if you get 20 people, 10 rows of people side by side, and you're doing each stroke one at a time, because you can't have people coming in the water and out of the water at the same time. They've all got to be able to do it in unison at the same time. So that's why you have the drummer in front. That drummer calls a cadence: 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, so that each stroke, you're doing one stroke per each 1,000 count. But then as you speed up, you go into 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so that stroke rate starts to increase. And then you go into a regular count: 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can imagine, each stroke, you've got to be able to complete it. You've got to be able to draw water with each stroke. And that's how you move the boat forward. So races are comprised of anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10 to 15 teams on the water at the same time. So you're paddling down a race course, you're paddling side by side, and that steersman's got to be able to keep that boat in his particular lane, because if you go outside your lane, you can crash into another boat and you can have people tipping over into the water. So that's why we have everyone wearing PFDs, personal flotation devices, or life jackets, so to speak. And the Blind Fury for the Lighthouse of Houston has been racing for close to 10 years now. They've never had an incident where any of their paddlers fell into the water. I am usually their steers person. I take great pride in coaching them, in making sure that they all work together. And at the end of each race, they're usually slumped over because there's so much effort that goes into a race. And it's usually a lot of fun. This past year was the first year that they've won a medal. What happens is, because this is a very limited sport for the visually impaired as far as having blind teams, there's a team that has started up in the last couple of years in Austin. But other than that, the first time I was exposed to a blind or visually impaired team was in San Francisco. There's a team, the first Dragonboat team in the US was out of Portland, Oregon. It was called Blind Ambition. And we raced against that team, our regular sided team, which is called Houston Heat. And we have our own boats. We have 2 sets of boats, one in Sugar Land and one in Nassau and Sugar, well, out in the bay. So we have 2 sets of boats, and what happens is we usually bring our own boats out, and that's where we have our practices. So when we host practices for the Blind Fury, we bring our own boats out and we help them, we assist them on getting onto the boats because it takes a little while to get them set up, and we get them organized, and we get them out there and we train them, and we also compete with them. So it's a fun sport. I know that the people on Blind Fury have a great time. It's all about just being able to communicate and to work with one another. And I don't know how many people have seen a dragon boat race in the US or in Canada or other parts of the world. About 2 years ago, we went to Hong Kong and we raced in Macau, and then we went to Tokyo and raced there. But this is our regular team. And we've talked about trying to get our blind team to go ahead and race in Austin to compete against a team there. So that hasn't happened yet, but it will. We are planning to make that happen. So I'm sorry I may have spoken a lot about different aspects of the sport, but essentially it's a fun, hard effort sport, but it requires a lot of effort in unison and paying attention to be able to compete competitively. And it was amazing how excited everybody was when they came up with their first medal last year. And they're competing against regular sided teams. And so to be able to beat a normal sided team was an awesome achievement. And so, Greg, I think that's about it for right now that I have as far as the sport itself, and just trying to give a few indications of what it's about. So,
and I thank you, Albert. That was some great information there. And again, I've seen a actual practice where they was practicing by the pool, but I've never actually witnessed or been around an actual race. So I think that'll be really cool, and I think that's some great information. So like before, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for anyone that has questions. What is your website, Albert?
HoustonHeat.org is our competitive team, and we started this team in 2006. I'm the president and one of the original founders of the club, and that's when we started traveling around the country, and that's how we got exposed to Blind Ambition from Portland, Oregon. And it really, I'm also on the board of directors for the Lighthouse of Houston. And so it's always an honor for me to get involved with the clients and for our particular blind team or visually impaired team. So I'm always encouraging people to come out and try it, and the staff to go ahead and support. They carpool the people out there to the race site, and we make it a fun event for everyone because they bring food and refreshments and everything else for the competitors.
Okay. The next question is Houston on this team in Texas?
No, I believe Austin has a team also, and I don't know what their name is, but they have also younger paddlers as well as the regular so-called older paddlers. Most of the time, we try to limit it to at least, I think, 14 years old or older, just to make sure that at least the youngsters have their parents' approval, and then everyone that's participated in the event has always been very exceedingly excited about it. Just to be able to know that you've competed and you've done something like this, it's really an awesome event, an awesome feeling.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, who was first? Terrence, I didn't catch that.
You have Michael and then Ned.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and unmute Michael. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks. Great presentation there, Albert. I was actually on the team last year when they won the first medal. And actually, that was my first year to participate. I've been wanting to do it for a number of years now. Many of you know Cookie Soto here in the Houston area. She's kind of been heading it up from the blind side of it, kind of been our coach, if you will. And she's always tried to get me to get involved, but it seemed like every time the date when the actual race was going to be was a date that conflicted with some other activities I had going on. But last year I got to actually participate, and it was a really exciting event. Well, first let me go back. Just getting in practice, like Albert said, the timing and learning the proper way to do the strokes, and he teaches all of that when we go to the Lighthouse pool. We started maybe 6-8 weeks prior, and meeting on a weekly basis, and then like the week prior, we tried to do an actual in water with the boat, but that year we weren't able to actually do that. So the actual race itself is like a big festival. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on. There's vendors and food, and actually I think there was a radio, or I can't remember if it was radio or TV station out there, and so it made it really exciting. And I don't remember, Albert can answer how many actual teams were there, but it was a number of teams, at least 10-15 teams, I think. And I highly recommend it, anybody that would be interested in doing that.
All right, thank you, Michael, so much. Ned was next, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, Ned, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Albert, my question is, other than the practices you do as a team, what other physical conditioning is required to prepare for the rowing?
That's a great question.
Because I think with the rowing, it's going to take some upper body strength to push that paddle.
Did we mute Albert?
Well, it's a good question. We always advocate cross training. It requires a lot of upper body strength, but also you need strength in your core to be able to twist. Because if you just drop down and then just pull back without reaching, you got to be able to coil and uncoil. So it requires your abs and your core muscles to also work out with each stroke. And we don't call it rowing, because rowing is where you're backwards, pulling in a different direction. So you're facing forward, so you've got to be able to lean down and twist as you go into the water, and then as you pull back, you uncoil, and so there's a certain technique where you're able to get the maximum effort out of each stroke, and that's what it requires to be able to pull that boat forward. So you've got 20 people paddling together, 10 on each side, and you've got to do it in unison, and it requires a lot of effort and coordination. If the person in front of you is off stroke, it affects the person in front of them and the person behind them. So that's why it requires a lot of effort and unison to be able to paddle in synchronization. So that's where the key is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ned, for your question. I believe Christy was next.
Christy is next, and I may have to do the thing. You can try to push *6 for me, Christy, and see if it unmutes you. All right, give Just 1 second so I can get you. Okay, Christy, one more time, star 6.
Hi, Albert. It's Christy from Canada. Nice presentation. I liked how you subscribe to fitness. Does your fitness go all year round? And how many seasons is it?
How many
Great
seasons?
question, Chris.
Well, there's only one season. Usually what happens is we usually start in late February and run through till about November. That's where most of the events take place, is usually around the country in the US and in Canada, is usually around, that's where the waters are a little bit more friendly, so to speak, because it's not quite as rough in the wintertime or cold, because this is usually a warm water sport. Although they do have ice dragon boating where they have boats that they use modified paddles, and they pretty much just stab the ice on top of the ice and in the rivers and pull the boat forward. So it's a somewhat same technique, but most of the season usually starts from about the end of February through about November. And this is pretty much around the country in Canada and on the other side of the world also.
Okay, thank you. And
But it's just only one season, though. It's not multiple seasons.
All right, thank you, Christy. And I believe we had one more was Shelly Roberts, right?
More. It was Edwin and then Shelby.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that, Edwin.
And Edwin, you should be able to talk now.
Hello?
There you are.
Good morning, this is Edwin. You say this takes place in open water. Is it in very deep open water?
No, not all the time. For instance, in Houston, they have in the downtown Bayou area in the shadows of the U of H downtown. And then when they have it in Sugar Land, they have it near Florida Daniels in the water there. So in that particular situation, it's relatively protected waters. In downtown, it's about 10-foot deep water because it's part of the bayou system. But in certain areas, we have practices in around NASA Road 1 in Clear Lake. And in that particular area, you can almost jump out of the boat and you're about in 4 to 5 foot of deep water, although it's pretty muddy. But for the most part, it's a little bit safer out there. But once again, it just depends on where the event takes place. But most of the time, though, it's in deep water. When we raced in Hong Kong, for instance, it was in the ship channels. What they had to do is they had to line up a lot of these tankers to create a race course. So all the regular boat traffic was on the other side of those tankers, and they would create waves. And sometimes those waves would break through that line of tankers and go into the race course. So the race course gets a little bit rough. So you got to be able to have a pretty good steers person to be able to control the boat, to make sure that it stays on course and doesn't flip. So it's things like that where once you're on the water, you have to pay attention to the steers person as well as the person in front who's calling the cadence or the drummer. So it's all about being able to have patience, but at the same time be able to concentrate. And then when needed, be able to just extend yourself and just give it everything you've got, because at the end of a race, you want to be able to be doubled over, exhausted, just gasping for air because you know you've given everything you've gotten out of your system, during that race. Because at the end of a race, if you're able to just look up and talk normally, then you didn't give everything you had. So that's what we say. During that race, you give everything you've got. At the end of the race, you're gasping for air, but then you're starting to calm down, and then you look around to see how you did, how many teams you beat, and what position you came in that course. And usually, it's not just limited to one race, because at the end of the event, they put teams into various categories. If you're in the competitive bracket, if you're in the corporate bracket, community teams, so they have various different brackets that you're placed in. But once again, because Blind Fury didn't have their own particular bracket, they raced in the community event against other community teams, and that's where they came up victorious last year, third place in the corporate and community teams. So we were really excited for them.
Great job, guys. And then we have one last question before we get to our next presenter, and that's going to be Shelby.
Hello, this is Shelby from Baytown. How do you qualify for these games in these teams? Is there a way to try out? Is there like trials, like tryouts, or is certain blind or special needs people or visually impaired can qualify, or what's the qualification requirement?
Well, in this particular case, for Blind Fury, they're primarily clients of the Lighthouse of Houston. In some capacity, they've been able to connect with the Lighthouse when we have these water practices in their indoor swimming pool, and eventually when they go out onto the water, because the staff of the Lighthouse usually collects them at the Lighthouse, and then
Oh, okay. So not just any blind person from the Houston area can apply for the team?
well, unfortunately, I'm not sure what how to go about opening it up to more people who are visually impaired. I mean, ideally that would be great, but what happens is the resources are somewhat limited in terms of being able to access a swimming pool or the edge of water, and then having paddles to be able to practice, because you can't literally just jump on a boat without any prior practice.
Right.
Be able to paddle.
Okay.
And that's the difficult part, is that you have to have at least a little bit of practice and experience, not necessarily in a boat, but at least along the edge of a waterway or a swimming pool, in order to be able to know what you're doing. And that's where it gets a little bit more difficult, it's not as accessible as we'd like it to be. But hopefully, as it gets more exposure and gets more people
well, and to kind of go on to that, sorry, Albert.
Go ahead, please.
One of the things I know that West Gray was doing, the multi-purpose center was doing, was also trying to, at one point, I don't know if they're still doing it, and we can follow up and definitely get the information out to you guys if they are, that they were trying at one point to start a Dragonboat team as well. And I know a couple of the players who played with the Bayou City Heat on beat ball were also part of Dragonboat as well. So it's one of those things, like you said, it's a lighthouse thing, particularly for this particular team. But I have heard otherwise that there could be another team out there or someone trying to form one. So I would definitely look into it more, and then I'll make sure that Ron get that information out to you guys if there is another team for sure in Houston.
And definitely our particular competitive team would be more than happy to try to help set it up. As mentioned, we do have our own boats. We have 4 boats, and these are maintained every year in excellent condition. And we have all of our equipment, our PFDs and paddles. And so we're always looking forward to helping other teams out whenever possible. There's also cancer survivor teams too. We help them out. So it seems like that this is a competitive sport that is open to a lot of different people.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much. Go ahead, Terrence.
Just to throw one last thing on. If you ever run into Cookie Soto, she will ask you to join Dragonboat. She will. If it's in the Dragonboat season, she's gonna ask. So
She's
it
a great
is
recruiter.
available. Yeah. As long as you have access to the lighthouse, I think you're pretty well. Just call and find out what's going on with it.
Yeah, but as we know right now, guys, just keep in mind that the pandemic is going on, so a lot of the stuff is shut down. So
unfortunately, that's true.
One of the things that we're making sure that you know is that this stuff is out there. A lot of stuff is on hold. As Jaimie mentioned in the previous presentation, we, even though the World Series was canceled, we still did a tournament in Indiana with 8 teams because teams wanted to play. But for the most part, everything is pretty much shut down. But this is just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's out there. Thank you again, Albert. Great presentation. And I do appreciate you for joining us today and giving that presentation.
Thank you for your interest.
No problem. Next, we got the lovely ladies of blind hockey, which will be Crystal Melero and Sharon Dehn. And I know I said it wrong. Are you ladies there?
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I got you, Crystal.
And this should be Sharon.
And I'm here too. And
All
you're
right.
right. It is Sharon Dehn. So.
All right. All right, ladies, take it away.
Well, thanks, Greg. Like Greg said earlier, I do play beat baseball with the Austin Blackhawks. So I'm the other Blackhawks player on the call. But I also recently began playing blind hockey in the Dallas area. I guess in October, we started a Dallas blind hockey team last October. A little bit about blind hockey. It is played on ice. Just like that's the question I usually get. Wait, you play ice hockey? Yes, we are playing on ice. I'm sorry. Sharon, did you want to introduce yourself before I go into what hockey is? Sorry. I brought my coach on here, Sharon, also because I just recently started playing hockey in October. So I also wanted Sharon to come on and be here also. Oh, Sharon's on mute again.
Sharon.
Thank you. My husband's over here laughing because you've muted me again. Crystal, I will follow your lead. So by all means.
Did you just want to introduce yourself really quick and tell how you got into blind hockey or?
Sure. Well, my name is Sharon Dehn. My husband and I both coach blind hockey here in Dallas. This was Dallas' inaugural season for blind hockey. It started, like Crystal said, up last October. The season would have run through April. Again, it was cut short, as all sports were because of the pandemic. But we actually started coaching blind hockey when we were in Chicago. We have just recently moved to Dallas. And we were coaches for the Chicago Blackhawks blind hockey team, which I think is why Crystal and I connected so well, because she was b-ball for Chicago Blackhawks in Austin. I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan, so that's where we actually got started. And when we moved here, we were a little saddened that we were going to be leaving our team, but only found out right after we moved that Dallas was going to start blind hockey. So we were able to get involved, and Crystal's one of our awesome players.
Thanks, Sharon. So, yeah, I actually found out about blind hockey through beat baseball a few years. My first World Series that I went to for beat baseball was in Rochester, New York. And at that time, I was not playing with the Austin Blackhawks yet. I was playing with the Lone Star Roadrunners here in the Fort Worth area. And I happened to meet somebody while at the World Series who was playing blind hockey, and so he kind of told me about it. And I'm a really huge Dallas Stars fan. So at that time I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, people can actually play hockey. But it was still kind of new to the US at that point. So it was not really at that point anywhere near Texas. So blind hockey was started in Canada in the 1970s. And then I believe in the early 2000s is when it kind of was like, you know, they started in Toronto, and then they had one other team at first in the 70s, and it wasn't really like as organized as it is today. So then I believe in the early 2000s is when they kind of started to organize it a lot more in Canada and have more teams. And then in about 2014-ish is when it was brought to the US. So, and 2015 is when I went to the World Series. So it was really still new back then. So I guess in September of last year, I got an email. I work with Blind Children's Program for Health and Human Services. And we had gotten an email from a family that we work with letting us know that they were going to start blind hockey in Dallas. And me being the huge hockey fan that I am, was super excited that I actually got to play the sport. So what we did in this area, and what they usually do to gauge interest in developing a team in a certain area, is they develop what's called a tri-hockey event. So basically the tri-hockey event I went to the event, and they put some gear on me and gave me a chance to get on the ice and kind of start learning how to skate a little bit, start learning about blind hockey, and then kind of gauge interest in whether there was enough people and enough interest in that area to start a team. And luckily in Dallas there was. So since then we had pretty much every Saturday from a couple weeks after the tri event, we would go to the rink and start learning how to skate and all that fun stuff. Blind hockey, the rules are pretty similar to regular hockey. You do have your penalties and things like that, and your 3 periods and things like that. One of the major differences is that the puck is different. And I'll let Sharon talk about the puck because she has one, so you guys can actually hear what it sounds like.
I do. And yes, Crystal's right. Blind hockey is just like regular hockey with just a few differences. One is the net is a little shorter. It's about a 3-foot high net. It kind of helps so, you know, that you're listening for that puck on the ice. The other thing is that it's totally blind players and some players that have vision impairment. So we kind of have a level of play there, but everyone is listening for that puck. So I'm going to grab it now and shake it. So those of you who have headphones, beware. I'm going to give you that warning. This is a blind hockey puck. Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
Regular puck is regular hockey puck is hard rubber. It's about 3 inches in diameter, about 1 inch thick. The blind hockey puck itself is a little bit bigger. It has ball bearings in it, that's what you're hearing. It's about 5 inches in diameter and about 2 inches thick. And of course, it's designed so the players can hear it. When players come into the attacking zone with the puck, one of the rules that's different is that the ref has like a little buzzer type of whistle that he will sound once a complete pass has been made in that zone. That helps the defenseman and the goalie know that the puck is in the zone and it's going to be ready it could be shot now at any time at him.
We are not allowed to shoot the puck. Normally with regular hockey, as soon as you enter your zone, enter the attacking zone, you can shoot the puck right towards the net. We're not allowed to shoot the puck until we've passed it to another player at least once, just like Sharon said, to let everybody have a chance to realize that that puck is there. Positions are determined by your level of vision. So, for example, your totally blind players are most likely going to be your goalies. And then your players with very little to no vision are going to be your defensemen. And then your players with legal blindness or more vision will be your forwards, your offensive players.
And Crystal, in competitive play, they actually have an International Blind Association rating for those players. They'll give them a level 3 if they're more sighted. They'll go a level 2 if they're have less vision, and then 1 if they're little to no vision. And when they play competitively, they're looking to have with a score of 13 on the ice at all times with those numbers. For the referees and the coaches, we know who we have on the ice based on the color helmet that they have. And those in competitive play, that number totals 13 at all times.
And they're the visual categories are very much, they're similar to USABA. So if you're familiar with the USABA categories for visual impairment, when they're, for goalball or other sports, it's pretty similar to that category, the way that it's divided up for hockey. And we do have teams all over the U.S. We have 17 teams currently right now in the U.S., from Dallas to St. Louis and Chicago and up east. I'm not sure how many teams are in Canada, but I do know that there are 17 in the U.S. Typically, there are 2 big festivals that we can play, one in the fall and then one in the spring. I was supposed to go to my first festival in Pittsburgh back in March, but unfortunately with pandemic, right before we were going to go is when everything got shut down. And so I didn't get to participate. And I was really sad about that, because it was going to be the first time that I actually got to play the game rather than just, go to practice. And we've done some kind of scrimmaging and practice and stuff like that, but I was excited to actually compete against, other teams.
Crystal did a good job. She's got her hockey legs under her. They go through drills. This is Texas, so you can imagine it's not an intuitive sport that Texans, have even been on the ice for ice skating. I remember years ago skating at the Galleria in Houston, so I knew there was ice there somewhere, but I do know that you all have some ice rinks there now as well. I have friends that play hockey, but at the same time, they go through the drills of getting their technical skills down, getting some speed, getting hockey legs, learning to pass that puck, knowing where the puck's going to come, how to communicate with the other players with their sticks and with their voice, as well as getting in those little small games for that tactical play. Obviously it's competitive. I know Christy from Canada is on the phone here, so she probably has familiar with blind hockey. Being up in Canada is a very competitive sport, but they do go through those drills and those practices. So like Crystal getting ready, preparing to go to that Disabled Festival in Pittsburgh was an event that encompass not only blind hockey, but hard of hearing hockey, amputee, our warrior hockey, and our special hockey program. So it's a big event that happens every year. And then the first inaugural Blind Hockey Classic was also scheduled this year. It was just for the blind hockey programs in St. Louis, and of course that one was canceled as well. But yeah, lots of competitive play and lots of fun.
And we do have a pretty wide age group that comes out to practice every week, or that was coming out to practice every week. We haven't practiced since the shutdown, but we had a couple 3-year-olds that were really, really fun to watch learn how to skate. They were on these little buckets that they would learn, they would push around the ice with them and learn their balance. And it was really cute to watch the little 3-year-olds trying to learn how to skate, all the way up to, I think we had somebody that was in their 50s. So, and then most of our team right now are 11, 12, 13-year-old boys, but we do have a pretty wide range of ages that could come out and play. And if you guys are interested in knowing where those teams are, or knowing how to start even have a try event in your area, I'll send Greg an email with the list of where the teams are, as well as the contact for USA Hockey. Her name is Doris or Dora?
Doris Donnelly.
Thank you. And she's the one that is kind of over blind hockey for USA Hockey. So she can get you in contact with anybody that you need to be able to have a try hockey event in your area.
And they do things, USA Hockey's involvement is they help coordinate that event. That's kind of like that first recruiting in, you know, like who's interested, who may we get out here. There were actually 18 at the first straw hockey event in Dallas, and each player has, each skater has a coach. So there was 36 of us on the ice because that's how the sport works in practice. But they were able to get out, and I think the fear was for our general manager and head coach is Howard Kiddo in Dallas was, will anybody come? And of course, he ended up with with 18 skaters there on the ice. And if any of you are interested, like Crystal was talking about, learning about the blind hockey program, Doris is a great contact. But if you're kind of wanting to understand the grassroots of how the heck do you start a blind hockey program in Texas, Howard Kiddo is available as well to you. I don't think he's on that list that Crystal's going to send, and he can give you the best practices and the things that he ran across trying to get it started up. USA Hockey will donate the pucks for the first group. They'll actually, when you get your team started, they will help pay for the fees. I believe it's $46 to register with USA Hockey for each year, and then $6 with the Texas Hockey Association. So they help cover the cost of that, as well as getting you involved with what kind of fundraising you may need to getting equipment donated from other hockey teams, as well as getting discounts from some of the hockey vendors in the area.
And just so you guys know, another question I get is, how do you keep from getting hurt when you're ice skating, especially because we can't see? We are required to wear full gear on the ice, which means that we're wearing a helmet. That it's not just a helmet, it also has a cage in front. So it's like a face mask, like a metal kind of face mask that comes down over your face. And then we're wearing, from our helmet all the way down to our skates, we're wearing full pads. So elbow pads, we have their shoulder pads, hockey pants, which basically have padding around like your legs and your butt area, stuff like that. And then shin guards. So we do have we're not allowed on the ice without full gear to help protect in case you do fall on the ice. But honestly, everybody falls, including NHL players. So if you fall, I've learned, I was scared of falling, but I learned very quickly, if you fall, it's not a big deal. Just get back up pretty easily and keep going, and it really doesn't hurt. So, and then if you guys
wants to be a defenseman, so she's learning to skate backwards.
Yes, that's
the only negative thing. Crystal is she wears that Dallas Stars jersey. But I guess we're in Dallas, so I've got to start liking the Stars now, right?
Yes, I'm a huge Stars fan, so I wear my Stars jersey for practice. And then the other
5 minutes, ladies.
Okay. And then the other thing I just wanted to say is, if you guys, we are on social media, Dallas Blind Hockey on Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know about Twitter, but for sure Facebook and Instagram. So if you want to follow Dallas Blind Hockey, you can do that. So Sharon, unless you have anything else to add, we can open it up to questions.
All right, ladies, and thank you guys. That was an awesome presentation. I did have a question, because it's not surprising that Crystal's scared to fall on the ice, because she's scared to fall in the grass on beat ball too. So
I've gotten better now that I'm falling on the ice, Greg.
But my question is that when I think of beat ball, I think of players being in zones and being in, with the spotters, and you stay in your lanes and you stay kind of whatever. So in blind hockey, how would you guys coordinate it?
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot of communication with your team and your coaches. I believe, Sharon, there's a coach on the ice, right?
Right. Each player actually has a coach or a volunteer with them. In competitive play, where you're actually playing a game, they'll have the coaches on the ice as well, but not a person for each player. And as far as they'll go up and down the ice. Now, this group has not yet had full ice. Shared their ice with the sled team, with the disabled sled team, but they will soon, this next season, have full ice, and they will be they will learn how to go that full north-south back and forth, but at the same time kind of east and west as well, and utilize the ice. And communication is the key for them.
And also I'm learning, Greg, with as I'm learning how to skate, I'm also figuring out like how far, like, you know, kind of time distance estimates between, you know, from board to board and stuff like that. Sharon and Wally, her husband, and I have been also going outside of practice. We've been going to public skates, or we were going to public skates. And that's one thing we were working on a lot with me, was not only backwards skating, because as a defenseman, I had to learn how to skate backwards a lot, but also how to really gauge where I am on the ice. And, you know, it's a lot of estimating and kind of knowing how big my strides are, so that I can know, you know, as I'm going across, how, you know, how close I am from board to board.
Okay. All right. Who we have up next for question?
We have Edwin and then Christy.
All right. Edwin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes. Do you use a regular hockey stick and stakes and skates, or is it any kind of special edition?
No, it's a regular hockey stick and and I do use regular ice skates. So the stick is, you know, we just have to measure it for my height, but it is a regular stick.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Edwin. Up next, we have Christy. I thought we'd hear from Canada sooner or later. With it being hockey, you know.
Hi, this is not a hockey question. Can someone call me, please? Because my phone's about to die.
Oh. Okay, I guess we lost her.
Died immediately.
Got to her too late.
Thanks we got that in right as
Yeah.
the phone died.
This is Ron. I have a question. Okay, so there's the only thing specialized in the equipment is the puck, correct?
The puck and the net. The net is a little bit shorter than a regulation regulation net. Yes.
Okay, so no one runs. You know, no one slams into one another blindly, or does it happen frequently?
Now, Ron, you know that happens, and it happens with the sighted players as well.
Okay, I have never watched a lot of hockey, so I just
yeah, that does happen in regular hockey too, because you're fighting for the puck. So what's happening, like some of the drills that we do simulates this, where they'll have us fight each other for the puck. So they'll drop the puck in between us kind of, and we kind of have to try to dig it out and pass it to one of our other players behind us or in front of us or what have you. And so because of that, because the puck is, you're having to use your stick to get the puck, sometimes you are kind of bumping into each other and stuff, but you're also trying to keep each other off the puck. So that's part of the reason for that kind of bumping into each other, is to keep each other off. You're kind of checking each other off the puck.
Okay.
That's also why they have a lot of penalties.
Yes.
And then the coaches on the ice too. You know, if we still, you know, as the skaters start getting their speed down, and you see someone going at a faster speed, and there's a player that's not, you know, we can make sure we, you know, help them, guide them out of the way. You don't want anybody to get slammed in the middle of the ice or even on the board. But it is a non-checking league, so I can't teach Crystal to fight or anything. But
I use the word checking, but that's not what I meant. You kind of bounce each other off the.
Oh man, that's no fun. No checking.
No checking.
All right. Well, thank y'all.
Hey, we got anyone else?
Yes, I have a question.
All right, Victoria.
This is Victoria. I don't really know much about hockey. However, I know kind of like the stereotypes of hockey, and it's, you know, regular hockey is very physical, brutal. I mean, I know you have masks and stuff, but I mean, we have people missing teeth and fighting and doing all that stuff. So are those part of the rules that are adapted, like where you cannot do that type of stuff that those regular hockey players do? Because when I think of hockey, you just think ouch, because you think of all the physical contact that they come in play. So is that a rule that you cannot do in blind hockey? Is that physical contact that they do in regular hockey?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yes,
the game is about having fun, and even in your regular hockey, you'll find that they're beginning to change that culture. That's their goal as well, too. That it's not so much about let's fight or let's knock each other's teeth out.
Yeah. It does happen even in regular hockey every once in a while, but it's definitely not what it was. Even in regular hockey, it's more about the game and the physicality comes from the game more than it comes from fighting. And so I think blind hockey is definitely more like that, where it's I mean, like I said, there are times where you're fighting for the puck, but it's not that you're beating each other up. You're literally, using your sticks to get the puck.
Right. And then those are those stereotypes, you think hockey, like they live to go and try to beat somebody up for the puck. So I was just thinking that would be interesting with a bunch of visually impaired blind people fighting and doing all that stuff. So I'm not a pretty sight. So I was just wondering if penalties would be put in play for stuff like that, right?
Yes, those penalties are still put in place if somebody is doing something like that they would be in the penalty box, just like in regular
Well,
hockey.
y'all just lost the player because I was interested in it just because of the fighting part. God.
Well, I will let you all know.
It's still fun, Greg.
Yeah, that the goal at Canada when they start their mission right now is the Paralympics. So 4 international plays, which Canada and the U.S. now has a blind hockey team, and they've played Canada 3 times. Canada has whooped our behind all 3 times because they're very competitive in play. But 4 competitive international plays will allow them to apply for the 2026 Paralympics for the first time. Right now they're trying to, once we get past the pandemic, get international play with a Finnish blind team and another blind team from England. So yes, you can still come be competitive. They're not, I believe, just not going to let us knock each other around and have a tooth missing.
It's competitive. We're just not knocking out teeth, Greg.
Gotcha. Terrence, I think you had a question.
There's Ned. Ned, I'm gonna let you go before me. Go ahead, Ned.
Yes, thank you for this presentation. My question, thank you for talking about the penalty box, because that was one of the questions I was going to have. So that's been addressed. What, Sharon, you talk about the net being 3 feet. Is that 3 feet tall or 3 feet opening the wide?
It's 3 feet high. So a traditional net is 4 feet high, and so the blind hockey nets are custom down to 3 foot high. So it keeps the puck lower and near the ice, so it can be tracked easier.
Oh, so that's my question. How wide is the opening of the net where the hockey puck goes in?
It's the same width as a regular, and I'm going to default to someone you all can't hear here. Wally, how wide is a hockey net? My husband,
6 foot.
5 to 6 foot.
Okay, so if it's 5 to 6 feet wide for the opening for that hockey puck to go in, I think you mentioned your least visual people are the goalies.
That's right.
So they've got to really be listening, because they've got 5 to 6 feet to protect.
Yes. Yeah, and that's part of the reason for that extra pass once you come into their zone, before they shoot the puck, to give them that opportunity to really gauge where the puck is and have that opportunity to listen and defend their net.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ned. Terrence?
All right, I had a couple of questions. The first, kind of a piggyback on what Ned was talking about with the goalie. Are shots in the air allowed? Like, how they fly up around the 2.5 foot area if you want to try to hit the corner of the net or something like that? Is something like that allowed?
Absolutely. In fact, this puck here that I took for y'all, after a while, it is beat up from hitting that post.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and the
And the
part of the
other,
reason I was just gonna say part
oh,
of the
go
reason the
ahead.
net is so much short is a little bit shorter though is to try to keep it closer to the ice, because not only is it you can hear the rattling, but you can also hear the puck moving across the ice because the outside of the puck is also metal, so you can kind of hear it scraping across the ice, so that does help.
Okay. And the other question I had, the other thing that comes to mind when I think of hockey is like, you know how you watch highlights on ESPN and you see like mostly Sidney Crosby is the one I always see doing it, like spinning around and flying through the air and doing stuff you would think of more of like on a football field than on ice. Do you guys have people that kind of get toward that level of skating where they're like just amazing on the ice?
Some of the little few of the video, I haven't actually played a game yet, right? So I can't, but the videos that I've seen from some of these people, especially in Canada where they've been skating since they were really little, or maybe they skated as a child and they lost vision as they got older, they're pretty fast.
Their skating abilities, they have those same skills, and Crystal's right. You do have some players throughout Canada and the U.S. and our own USA blind hockey team that have lost their vision and they have played hockey, so they've got those skating legs under them. Our Dallas, I didn't mention this, Crystal, but our Dallas blind hockey team was actually started because our general manager, Howard Kiddo, has a son who has a degenerative eye disease and he is losing his vision slowly, and he plays competitive hockey as a youth, and he wanted him to be able to continue playing hockey. So when Easton gets out there with Crystal and all of us, Easton can really skate. He can skate around everyone.
He blows us out of the water.
All right. We have any other questions?
Thank you. That's it for hands right now, and looks like the chat is clear as well. So.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. It was an awesome presentation, and it piqued my interest a little bit, but you lost it a little bit without the fighting. So, I don't know. But definitely, I want to thank you guys for your time and the information that you shared. Great job, ladies.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank
for
you.
having
No
us.
problem. No problem. All right. So our last presenter, last but not least, Mr. Michael McCullough with Ski for Life. All right, Michael, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Yeah, hi there, it's Michael McCullough. Thanks everybody for being here again. First, I guess I'd just like to, before I get into Ski for Life, just tell you a little bit about myself, a little background for those that don't know me. I think I know a number of you that's on the call this afternoon. I have been pretty active, most of my life, and really a strong believer in health and fitness. And when I lost my vision in the early 2000s, I continued to look for ways that I could participate in doing things, and so have been pretty active in different things besides the skiing. I really love hiking. Some of you know that last year I hiked the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, and like kayaking. Mentioned earlier with the Dragonboat racing, got involved for the first time, tandem bike riding, just all kinds of adventure sports. Actually, for the first time I got involved in skydiving, and so I'm trying to put together a blind skydiving team here. Hopefully, we were going to try to do it this past spring, but of course COVID came in. So I just really like, pretty much all kinds of sports. I believe that, a lot of the blind feel like they are limited on what they can do. And so I'm just a real proponent in showing that, there are no limits to what a blind person can do. So Ski for Light. Ski for Light is actually the name of a nonprofit organization that was started, it's been 46 years now ago, 1975. It was formed here in the U.S. Sorry, my computer is, okay, hopefully you can still hear me. So yeah, it started in 1975 here in the US, but it actually originated came from Norway. There was an event called the Ritteren, which started in the 60s after a blind skier was out skiing and kind of got lost and just happened to find some tracks in the snow and got put his skis into those tracks and just started skiing back, and it finally led him back to civilization from out in the woods where he was. And so the idea came that you could teach a blind skier to cross-country ski by laying tracks, and then and it's actually a parallel set of tracks. You have a guide that would go along with you and call out instructions for you, as far as getting ready to turn right, left, going uphill or downhill, and that kind of thing, and so that what you need to do. When you're first starting out, a beginner, and everybody starts out as a beginner, unless you skied as a sighted person prior to that. And I had no experience cross-country skiing as a sighted person. So I was a very first-time beginner. And what they do, you start out just learning the equipment. You check out the equipment, the skis, the boots, learning how to properly put on your boots, how to then put the boot into the ski mount itself. And then the other part of your equipment is a pair of ski poles. So with those three things, you can get out and go out onto the cross-country ski areas. Starting out, before you even go out on the snow, you'll be taught just there, usually in the ski lodge area, the techniques for turning, techniques for if you fall down, and you will fall down. A lot in the beginning, to proper ways to get back up, and so with learning the turning, the getting back up, how to propel yourself. It's similar to, if anybody, we just got finished talking to the hockey people. The motion is somewhat similar to ice skating on a pair of skis. And so you're learning all of those techniques before you ever go out onto the snow. Once you've had, usually it's an hour to 2 hour lesson there in the room, and then you actually will go out, and there's a little easy area that you can start practicing, getting used to being on the snow and being in the tracks and what that feels like. And like I said, you have a personal guide that's going to be with you. It's a week-long event, and they occur all around the United States each year, usually last week of January, first week of February timeframe. And so you're assigned a guide that's going to be with you, and he's going to help train you. He's going to be your guide to, as you go out each day, to practice and, develop your skills if you're a beginner. If you're interested in, a person that's gone several times learning to race and become more proficient, then you can do that. And also, you can pretty much do whatever level you choose to do. I'm not a competitive skier. I just like to go out and have fun. And so that option is always available to you. And as you go out each day throughout the week, and then finally on the last day, they have a big event called the race rally. And at the race and rally, you choose to be in one or the other. A race is kind of like the name implies. They have a number of different categories based on gender, based on age, based on visual acuity, and then you will, based on those categories, you actually race for first, second, third places. If you don't want to be competitive, then you can just sign up to be in a rally. And what a rally is you just go out, ski at whatever level you're at, and based on how you've been doing all week, you kind of get an idea of how long it's going to take you to finish the course. And you will give an estimated time on the day prior what you think your time's going to be. And so, based on how you finish and how close to those times, then they give out awards based on who got closest to their estimated times. And so the event itself is it's like any other big festival kind of thing. That last day, there's people out there with cowbells, and the volunteers, the number of volunteers that help out with this, it's phenomenal. Everybody comes, the volunteers anyway, all come paying their own way. A lot of them, they're coming from all over the country, actually all over the world, because there's people from Europe, from Asia, from just everywhere that come to this event annually, the Ski for Light event. And so all of these volunteers have come at their own expense. It's just something they want to do. Once they get involved with it, it's just kind of an addictive thing. And so many of them have, many of the volunteers, there's some that have been there since 1975. Others, as they've come along, each year they recognize people, and there's all these people that have been there 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And so it's just incredible, the volunteers that help coordinate and put on this event. And it is an all volunteer organization. The board are all volunteers itself that help coordinate the event from the whole, starting even a year prior to an event, they're starting to, look for locations. The events are planned by the board and the planning committee, and there's all different kinds of committees, as most organizations would have. You're skiing during the day, but then there's all kinds of events going on in the evening. And so the evenings can be anywhere from dances, auctions, various kind of games. They have different theme nights. One time there was a kind of a rodeo go western kind of a night, and they had a mechanical bull there, and of course all the country music band and dancing and all that. So there's all kinds, the different theme nights. The big night, of course, is the big banquet at the after the race rally day, and when all the awards are given out and all the other recognition throughout the week. I first got involved in 2016. A friend had gone that I knew and had told me about it. And so in the fall of 2016, a group of us here in the Houston area decided, to go. And at that time there were six of us. And we met a few other people from around the state of Texas at that event and became friends with them. And so we decided we're going to form a Team Texas. And so and that was the first event we went to was 2017. And since that time, I've been helping coordinate the Team Texas. And each year we've continued to grow. 2018, we had 13 people from around Texas that went. 2019, I think we had about 18. And then last year we had, again, 18 or 19 people. So we've, continued to grow each year, and we've gotten a pretty good reputation because with 18, 19 people coming from Texas, and which, really gets no snow unless you live up in the Panhandle area, is pretty remarkable. And actually, we've had the last 2 years the most people from any state go to a ski for light event. And so we've gotten quite a reputation. Back in 2017, one of our members knitted a bunch of red ski caps for us. And so we were all wearing these red ski caps. And each year since, that's become kind of our trademark. If you see a skier with a red ski cap, then you can almost bet that they're from Team Texas. So people have, we've become well known when we go to the different every evening, starting from the introductory meeting, as they start to introduce people and you get introduced to your guide. We've been fairly rowdy and always take cowbells with us and ring in the cowbells every time they announce somebody from Team Texas. And so people have really gotten to know us. Let's see, we, cross-country skiing is overall, it's a very healthy, all-around, body sport. And, it does require you to get into a certain level of fitness. I mean, it definitely helps. And so, core exercises, quad exercises, legs exercises. You will be using your arms and shoulders, but not to that extent. But each year I've tried to organize a training session starting usually in about October, meeting on a weekly basis, and to help us get in shape and get fit. And so that's worked out fairly well for everybody. And like I said, it's that you get to participate at whatever level you choose. The different courses that they have, it starts out with a 1K course, a 5K course, and then a 10K course. So you're able to go on any of those. And usually there's during the week as you're practicing and going out, there's multiple 5K, 10K courses that you can ski. And so, you get to look at different terrain, different scenery, that kind of thing.
5 minutes, Michael.
Okay, great. I should be able, no problem. And then with, on the race day, they do set up a specific course for the 5K rally. The rally itself is strictly 5K. The race is the 10K course. And then if you don't want to do either one of those, then you can kind of do a mini rally on the 1K course if you feel like that's what your choice is. So all of those are available to you. And as you come in as you're racing or doing the rally, when you come into the finish line, you're hearing all kinds of cheering all along the way. People are lined up along the way as you come in. Cowbells are ringing, and the announcers are announcing the racers and the people coming in. And then as you finish up, there's someone there that greets you, and you're awarded a medal, and puts a medal around over your head and on you. So that's always a fun thing to get a picture there with your guide as you're getting your award. So those are just some of the highlights. I mean, there's a lot more that goes in detail. If you're a first timer, if you've never been, then they do have special, they do receive a lot of donations, and so they're able to help supplement the expenses. And for a lot of first timers, you can get up to as much as 50% of your expenses paid. And that's for the the room and board, the ski equipment, the ski passes, that kind of thing. If you're a second year person, usually you can get about a quarter, 25 to 30% stipend. And then after that, your expenses are all on your own. But yeah, once you go, you pretty much will get addicted to it. I mean, even if you've never been before, it's just something that a lot of people that have gone, and based on the numbers, we've continued to grow. And so we hopefully, the 2021 event has already been determined that it's just going to be a virtual event because of COVID, of course. And so we're still looking to see what that'll entail. I mean, all of the programming that goes on during the evening is going to be there, but of course the skiing will not be. They're coming up with some kind of virtual physical activity that you can do in lieu of the skiing and participate in that form. I think I've covered pretty much everything. Open it up to questions for anyone.
All righty. Thank you, Michael. Anyone has any questions for Ski Flight?
Hey, Michael, this is Ron.
Yeah, Ron.
Hey, great presentation. Thank you. And so this is strictly cross country, not downhill?
Yeah, it's cross country, or what's called Nordic skiing. Yeah.
Okay. And where all have you gone to? What location?
A couple of times in the 4 years that I've gone now. Twice have been in Colorado, just not too far from Winter Park area, a place called the Snow Mountain Ranch in outside of Granby, Colorado. Went up to Tahoe Donner 1 year. And then last year went to Casper, Wyoming. Yeah, Casper, Wyoming was, weather-wise, it was very tricky. They get a lot of high winds there, and actually 2 of the days there were winds exceeding 50 miles per hour, and they had to actually close the ski mountain. And we had a couple of buses that were already en route and kind of got stuck up on the mountain because of the winds and the icy conditions, and so people got stuck there. But the programs committee were very ingenuity and came up with a lot of alternate activities for us to do on those days. So still were able to participate in all kinds of different
y'all
things.
had pizza delivered to your buses there when you were stuck?
Yeah, because they were out there for a number of hours.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the pizza, just some passerby just decided to, order pizza for the whole group that was on the bus.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow, that's cool. All right, any other questions for Ron? Ron, sorry.
I've got no further questions. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, you have Edwin and then Karen. So go ahead, Edwin.
Yes, I have 2 questions. The first one is, where would be a good location here in Houston to practice the sport? And the other one is, do you have to wear some kind of protection for it?
Okay. So as far as practicing the actual sport itself, because we have no, no snow or any kind of mountainous areas, you wouldn't be able to simulate that. I mean, but you can, they have the Nordic track skiers type equipment is a good activity to practice on. Just using an highly inclined treadmill will help simulate and get your quads in shape for that. As far as protective equipment, you're gonna, the temperatures can be anywhere from 0 or -0 some days up into, there were days that were in the 40s and 50s. So you just have to be prepared and take the appropriate clothing. One thing I forgot to mention, especially for a first timer that's never been, even before you even go, several months, sometime in the fall, there will be a person that gets assigned to you to contact you, start telling you about all the different kinds of clothing and other kinds of, supplies and things you might want to consider bringing, and help answer any of those kind of questions. And, and they'll be your point of contact leading up to the event itself.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Edwin. And Karen. Karen.
While we're waiting on Karen, I was just I don't know if there's anybody else that's actually been to a Ski for Light event that's on the line, if you want to share anything that your experience about it.
Did we get her unmuted?
It should be asking her to unmute. Karen, are you still there?
There she is.
Dang it, why? It keeps taking me right back off.
You're on, Karen. We
can hear you, Karen.
Oh, it told me it muted me again. Okay. Terrence, okay, my question is, I've been to snow skiing a long time ago, with regular ski slopes. Is
Downhill.
it similar to that?
No, it's going to be very different from downhill skiing. Yeah, I had downhill skied when I could see also, but it's very different from that. It actually requires a lot more physical activity, as you can imagine, because sometimes you're on very flat land, sometimes you're going uphill slightly. They pick a terrain. It's not going to be real steep slopes. Occasionally, you may get a little, a hill here and there that's slightly steep, and depending on your skill level, you end up having to either walk uphill or downhill sometimes.
Okay. Now, do you use the same skis as the downhill skiing people use?
No, actually, the skis are different too. They're a little wider. The boot and mount is loose. I mean, when I say loose, you're able to flex your boot, so you're able to have more like a skating motion.
Got it. Okay, I've done roller skating. I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you again, Michael. And before I turn it over to Ron, I want to again thank
Greg, sorry,
yes,
I forgot to mention, if you have any questions about it, the website for Ski for Light is SFL, standing for Ski for Light, sfl.org. And also Team Texas, I've been maintaining a blog at seenobarriers.org. And there's a link there for Team Texas, and describes the last 4 years that I've been involved in about it. So,
all right, cool. Well, again, I want to thank all our presenters today. It was some great information, and I hope everyone realized with these presentations, there is a lot of activities out there. We didn't get a chance to get a gold ball presenter in today due to some unforeseen situations, but we do have their information to share with you guys, and it has like the PowerPoint of their presentation that they were going to give, and also their contact information for it there in Houston. But all these sports, all these events, we are blind athletes and we do participate at a blind level, but these sports and events do not happen without the assistance of volunteers, sighted volunteers, and it's a great opportunity. And being a beat ball player, I see more sighted people getting into the sport than even the players itself, because it is so competitive. And once you get involved with beat ball or hockey or skiing or Dragonboat, you're not gonna, or even goalball, you're not gonna want to stop, and you kind of enjoy it. So, Ron, I don't have anything else. I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, Greg, I hand it to you. You put together a fantastic program. All our speakers were awesome. It was very informative. Even things that I'd heard some about, I still learned a lot more about today. Thank you all for taking your time and giving back to us here today. Gosh, this was really good. I thank everybody for being here today. We do have a couple of things. We're coming up on Labor Day, and HAVIN, we're going to take an extra week because of that. So our next program will be in 3 weeks. I believe that will be Saturday, September 12th.
Yes, sir.
We will be doing
Terrence's birthday.
Yes, it is Terrence's birthday. Now, that said, Sarah came and left before we could say happy birthday to Sarah Freeman Smith, our fellow board member here, iBug rep. She was out celebrating today, but she did join us, and thank you, Sarah, for joining us earlier. But on September 12th, we will have a program to celebrate Terrence's birthday. It'll be a cooking program. No, it has nothing to do with Terrence's birthday other than we will give him a shout out. But we will have a feature on the accessible Instant Pot and an air fryer. So we will have, demonstration and offer you insight to the things that are available to you as a blind chef. Culinary techniques, cool. Last week, we asked everyone to fill out a survey and said those who entered would also get an extra entry into today's door prize drawing. We have a $25 Amazon gift card donated by Vipset. And so I'm going to randomly pick from the people who have registered for today, plus those who answered the survey. Pick a random number between 1 and 39.
A random number between 1 and 39 is 15.
So 15. Well, and our stipulation was that you need to be here. So, Christy, we're sorry you dropped out. Pick a random number between.
Could you try again?
Pick a random number between 1 and 39.
A random number between 1 and 39 is 20.
Maricela, are you here?
Do we have Maricela?
Is Maricela here? Terrence?
Hello.
Hey, Maricela, congratulations. You're the
thank
winner of today's door prize. I will get
Great
with you
job. Congratulations.
sometime this weekend and touch base with you. I will get that to you.
Okay.
All right, congratulations. You're the big winner. Winner, chicken dinner. All right, well, thank you all for being here today. We ran just a little bit over. Thank you for your time, your interest, and we appreciate all of you and all of our presenters. And again, Greg, pat yourself on the back for me. That was a pretty awesome program you put together.
Thank you, sir. I just got the participants. They did the work.
Hey, we're good people surround themselves with good people. So thank
Definitely.
you. And we look forward to seeing you in 3 weeks from today. All right, y'all take care, and we will see you then.
Everybody stay safe.
Everybody stay safe.
Take care.